Hi, I'm Ned, and I make games. This video is from my live stream over at twitch.tv/NedMakesGames, where I'm live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. US Eastern Time. I'd love to see you there. Alright. Hey, everybody. How's your day been so far? Mine's not been too bad. Been pretty productive today. Can't complain too much. But yes, let's get back to our project in Unity. So I've been working on trying to get some grass and flowers set up. Hey, Saburnus, how are you doing today? Okay, we've gotten... So yesterday we mostly worked on the compute shader and switching it to work like to generate the geometry of the grass mesh in the vertex program instead of the compute shader, which tends to be a lot more efficient. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that my stream maybe help a little bit. But oh yeah, so last time we stopped on adding a normal map, but it turned out that's a little difficult to do with a flat mesh like this, because on the opposite side the normal will be pointing the wrong way. So I mean, we could fix that, but I think I'm just gonna hold off on adding a normal map because it's not really required, and I guess I want to see if I actually want to utilize it in the final version before I work too much on it. So I think tonight we'll try to make some textures for the grass, and then we'll move on to flowers. Okay. Yeah, so I already removed the normal map. Well, actually, most of the code is still here, but it just isn't used at all in the shader. So technically the shader, yeah, I think the shader compiler will actually get rid of all this code, so. Anyway, so for the grass mesh, I think just to make sure it works okay, let's just have some really simple texture first. So I'll just use this Ace Sprite, which is just a pixel art editor. And we'll just, I don't know, make a triangle or something. Color mode, it's okay. Okay, yeah, I haven't done too much pixel art lately, but seems like I was expecting that to turn to the transparent checkerboard, but maybe they've changed something. Okay, transparent color is supposed to be this black. Okay, well, maybe it'll be transparent when I save it. Okay, so I'll just draw, I don't know, a pyramid. Why don't you put the camera on YouTube? Oh, why don't I use my webcam on YouTube? I've actually thought about it, but I just set it up when I started streaming Wednesday, so I might use it in videos from now on. I don't know if people would like it, but oops. So let's just save it on the desktop. I don't know, grass test. Oops. When you have a camera on in tutorials, it's more personal and better to watch for you. Okay, well, I'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you for the the feedback. I actually, yeah, I have been wanting to add it. I think it would be nice, especially in parts where I'm just like, I don't know, explaining math or something. It'd be nice to have um, somebody there talking to you instead of just, I don't know, math into the air. All right, so it's still not transparent. Okay, so this is a bit more trouble than I was hoping for. That's not what I want to do. I know it's... I can't remember. Palette entry uses a transparent color in each layer only for index images. That's what I did. Okay. Where's the layer view? Oh no, I think I do, Soberness. Sorry, I was just rambling. Yeah, I would like to yeah, put my webcam on the YouTube tutorials. I think it would be a good addition sometimes. Okay. Come on, where's the... Alright, well this a little embarrassing. I need to go and I guess refresh on my Ace Sprite. I'll just draw it real quick in Inkscape instead, since I use this all the time for my thumbnails. Oh. Okay, so it was transparent. Oh, well, there's a lot of things I wish could edit in Inkscape, but I wish that... Why is it... Oh, the alpha was set to 0 there. Yeah, the UI in Inkscape leaves a bit to be desired, that's for sure. But we don't have to do anything too fancy here. Okay, so that works for me. And then I'll export... Oops. .32 by 32. Export the image. Okay, now this should have a transparent background. Okay. And we want alpha's transparency. We want a clamp mode. So our clamp wrap mode so that we don't get a halo around the cards. And I think, did I already add? I think I already added, yeah, so the main texture is already ready to go. So I should just be able to place this in here. Okay. Well, that's something. Oh, is it because of... Oh, I bet it's because I still have the code that we were doing our procedural cone from earlier. Oh no, it's just the texture sample. Probably I should just mess with the cutoff. Okay. Yeah, and so there's still going to be some jagged edges because our texture is only 32 by 32 pixels, which is not very big. But I just kind of wanted to see if this worked before we worked on anything else. Yeah, I finally got some grass. Okay, so now we can try to do something a little bit more fancy. I could just draw it in Inkscape. I don't know, like I said last stream, I'm much more on the tech side of tech art than art. But so I usually do like procedural textures. But that might be, well, we can try it, I guess. Well, so what I want to do today is I'm trying to recreate this image, or at least the flower field part of it. So I have all these other flowers I'd like to make as well. And I'm trying to think, do I want to do them in like as a procedural texture in something like Substance Designer, or do I want to try to draw them by hand? I think actually, yeah, it might be better to do it in Substance Designer because then I can generate a couple different varieties of each of these. It might be, it'll be a kind of fun practice as well to do some of the stuff. Like we have to do a flower, a petal whirl here. I'm kind of new to Substance Designer, so we'll all be learning it together, I think. Oops. Oh, I pressed cancel. Competing with Linus Tech Tips time slot. Oh, I actually didn't even know that he streamed. That is kind of a problem. Okay, so let's just start with an empty graph. Yeah, empty graph. This will be, I don't know. You'll watch both. Okay. Well, thanks, Mad Science. I do appreciate you coming by to the stream. All right. Okay, so again, if you haven't ever seen Substance Designer, oh, it's like covering up my OBS on my second monitor, but it's like a program kind of like the shader graph, and you can use it to generate textures procedurally. Let's see, I should probably have tested out the view before I went live. I forgot that I had this set up as a dual monitor, or the layout as a dual monitor setup, but my second monitor is being used by OBS, so make you something nice you can use with Substance Player. Well, I'll try my best. Okay. So for this grass, you need to try to think of what kind of shape you want it to start out as. Okay. Forget. Like I said, I'm kind of new, so I don't know all of the node names, but I wanted to have like pattern or something. You have dual 21.9 is best work. Oh yeah, I'd love to have an ultra wide monitor like that. Right now all my monitors are like different sizes. It's kind of annoying, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Is this it? Okay. Oh yeah, this is the shape node. Okay, so I think there's a bunch of different patterns. Let's go through them and see. So I want something that's kind of like like I guess a pyramid, sort of. That one looks like something we can work with. Okay, well this is a pyramid, but it's not, I want it to be not looking down, I want it to be side on. Let's just try that ridged bell. Okay, and we can mess with this to get it into a more grass-like shape. Okay, like we can stretch this. Something like that. And then we can multiply with another shape to kind of take off this bit on the bottom. Let's see. Okay, I want something, yeah, like that. And then we can multiply them together and it will smooth out this edge. Which, I'm used to still Unity shader graph. But I think they call it a blend in Substance Designer, and then you can use a multiply filter. Yeah, so see, it's a little softer on the bottom now. Okay, so now, I mean, I'd like to maybe add a little bend to it, but let's see how it looks if we just scatter it around. Is it called a scatter node? No. Okay, they have a node that you can like, that copies this shape all around the bitmap. Okay, you guys can't even see what I'm doing. I'm looking through the nodes, trying to see what it's called. Let's see. So it's called. No, I already checked scatter. Okay, well, I don't want to waste time. I have another project that I've done something similar. Okay, let's save it and then I'll look and find what the name is from that. Okay, let's see. Oops. All right, and okay, tile sampler is what it's called. What? Did it not just save what I did? Well, that's annoying. It's saying it's not saved. No, it's right here. Okay, I don't know what that was about. Anyway, so we want the tile sampler. Okay, so there's a bunch of options here and it looks pretty scary, but it's not really too complicated. Basically, like I said, you place in a texture there and then it will scatter it around. Okay, except it's not updating the preview, but let's see. It's making a fool of me. Oh, right. I have to say pattern input. Okay. Yeah. Oh, because you could just generate this shape here that we did. But yeah, I want to input a pattern into the node. And okay, so now we can select the number here. I'll go something low because we're gonna kind of change this so that all of the blades connect to the bottom. So we don't want too many Y samples. In fact, I might just have one, and then we'll play with that. How many X samples? That's probably too many because it makes the blades too skinny. How about 6? And then, okay, so we can change the size here. Okay, and you can see one thing about Substance Designer is that everything is automatically tiled. Usually that's pretty cool, but we actually don't want it to tile here because we're not making a tileable texture. You can turn that off by setting to... Yeah, so you just kind of override this option and say no tiling. And now it just clips off the top. So we want this bottom to clip into the ground, but the top should have a little empty space up there so that it doesn't just look like the grass ends in the air. So probably we can get a length that we want, and then I can move the offset downwards. Okay. Yeah, I guess positive moves down in Substance Designer apparently. And now we can give him a random rotation. Oh, excuse me. And okay, so that's color. We won't mess with color now. Oh yeah, so you can give a random position. I'd kind of like them all to come out from a center. I don't know if we can, now that I think about it, you probably can't do that with this tiled sampler. I wonder, let's see. I have this FX map, which lets you kind of program how you want it to work. Haven't worked with this too extensively, but it might be fun to learn. Probably should follow a guide actually. Let's not worry about, yeah, like I said, I don't know the FX map well enough yet, and I don't really want to just go through a tutorial on stream. That doesn't sound very fun. So I might have to just end up drawing the grass myself. Let's see. Well, I mean, this doesn't look... It's not really what I want. I want them all to meet in the center. But I guess, yeah, if I'm going to be picky, I should just draw it myself. Alright, well... Okay, let's just do... Trying to think. Well, okay, how about let's not worry about the actual art, and let's just make temporary textures and do the programming part. And then maybe next stream we can make the art textures when I've had more time to research a good way to do it. Yeah, because I don't really want to just read through a tutorial on stream. I think that'd be kind of boring. So let's do that. Okay, so let's just... One thing I want to do for the flower textures is it's better for performance if all the textures are on one texture atlas, or basically one image altogether, and then we'll have our shader choose like a section of that image to show, and so our compute shader or something will just decide what, I guess, plant each blade should have, and then using that we'll choose the correct texture for it. So let's just make a test texture. I'll just do 4 quadrants for now. I'll make it a little bigger, so 10, 24. Oops. Okay, and I want this. I really wish you could set this units to be global in Inkscape, because it always resets 2 inches, which I almost never use. I almost always want pixels, but okay, so we'll just arrange 4 textures, and I guess I'll just color them the same as I want the flowers to be eventually. So we have the blue bonnets, the Indian paintbrush, and little yellow ones. Okay, and this should be 1024 pixels. Okay, and I'll just call this, I don't know, a flower atlas, and we can just override it when we need to. Okay, and this... Alright, so we can't really just use clamp modes here because, well, I mean, the textures, we're going to split the texture up into multiple quadrants. So we've got to leave enough room on the sides so that, like, the yellow won't bleed into the red. But I guess I'll just go ahead and put a clamp filter, because it'll help with the actual texture edges. You can still use everything else. Okay, and then the shader, let's start with the graphics shader side. So here we'll need to have, I guess, a quadrant, if I can type. So this will be texture, quadrant. Maybe in case I ever do more than 4, let's just call it texture, I don't know, index. Okay, and we don't have to pass anything in the vertex output because we'll just encode all of this into the UV. So, okay, so we have the main texture, and we can actually get the texel size of the main texture, which gives us the the dimensions of the texture. Oh, but we don't actually need that because we can just stay in UV space. I was gonna say because we'll need to know like how the width and height of the texture, but really we just need to know. Well, it might still be useful actually because we can specify the UV margin and pixels. Okay, so I think it's just main texture dot pixel size. Okay, so we know the UV margin, but we also need to know like how many textures are in one row. So I'll just say atlas width. This could actually be an integer, but we'll just leave it a float because that works better in the shader inspector. Okay, so here, yeah, we just passed the UV straight through, and right now the UV is decided by the vertex in the blade, which we still want to use. So here the UV is helps us decide like the position of the vertex, but we need to change it to actually work for the texture. So what do I want to so this will be like the I don't know, the image UV and not the atlas UV, so I guess we can think of it that way. Okay, I'll just call it the card UV. Okay, and so to get the texture UV, so basically we need to transform this card UV to be inside one of the quadrants of the texture, taking into account this UV margin. So the UV margin is equal to the UV margin property, which is going to be in pixels, times the pixel size, which we can get with this variable, which just has the size of one texture pixel in UV space as its X and Y components. So we'll subtract this. Okay, so let's see. Basically, okay, this should be a float too as well. Imagine being smart like I am. Well, thank you, Cerberus. It's mostly just a lot of practice. I've been programming for a long time. All right. So, I'm trying to think of the right word here. I guess this will be like the section dimensions. Oh, I don't know if you could hear my dog barking at something. Which is okay. So this is basically just the number of, or 1 divided by the atlas width. I guess we actually need to know the entire atlas size. That'll just be easier for us to work with. So the dimensions will be 1 divided by the atlas size. If I wanted to be really quick, I could pre-compute this, but... So now the texture UV is the... Okay. Well, I guess, yeah, we can't go there quite yet because we have to convert this texture index into a 2D index, like in row and column. Truth is, learning is only 10% of what you're doing. Most part is just chilling when you talk. Well, I'm glad that you think the stream is chilling. That's kind of my one of my goals is to be relaxing, so I'm glad to hear that. All right, so let's see, the section ID is this texture index. First, we need to take. Okay, actually, maybe this should be an integer because I'm gonna have to do a modulo operator, which gives us the remainder. But and that's usually not defined for a float very well, so I guess I will switch this. Okay, so this will be a uint2. I'm not even sure if I can change this into an integer now that I think about it. But we can cast it, and I can look that up later. So anyway, uint atlas width equals atlas size dot x. Okay, and then here, so we have this texture index. So the x dimension will be the column, which is texture index modulo atlas width. So anchor dot texture index modulo atlas width, and then the y dimension is the same thing, except we'll do an integer division. So this will give us the row that this texture should be in. Okay, now I think we can finally make this texture UV. So basically, we multiply the ID by the section dimensions. And then I need to so I'm trying to figure out how to apply the margin. I'm trying to do too much math in my head, I think. I'm sure there will be some bugs here, but we can figure it out. So we add the margin. Okay, that basically gives us 0, 0. So I want to multiply. Okay, so now I want to multiply the section dimensions minus the margin times 2 times the card UV. And I think that will give us the actual UV, but we can test it out in a second. Never be good at programming, so use bolt and shader graph. Oh, well, don't think that way. Yeah, but it does take. The good thing about, I like the shader graph and other graphical programming things like that is that they do give you a good way to at least learn about the logic behind programming, so it makes it a little easier to get into text-based programming down the line if you ever need to. Okay, so yeah, we have the texture UV finally, at least theoretically, I suppose. Okay, unrecognized identifier, texel size. Oh, I forgot to add float 4. You're good at logic, but can't remember how to code. You just can't remember something that's written. Oh, well, that's true. I mean, there are people that are more visual learners versus written learners, so... I mean, personally, there's nothing wrong with, like, graphical programming, so if it works well for you, then that's perfect. Section dimensions. Did I... probably did a typo somewhere, so I'll just copy and paste. Undeclared identifier UV. Probably because I need to switch to using the card UV. Oh yeah, same here. That was, yeah, we are changing it so that the bend matrix and the wind is offset more as you move up the card. So they'll want to use the old UVs. Okay, well this is not a great sign. Let me... Oh, but you know what it is? It's because, yeah, since we added a texture index here, now this draw anchor structure doesn't match with the structure in the compute shader, because this one has an extra unsigned integer. So yeah, it was basically just sending junk data. Okay, so just adding that actually should fix it. Let's see. Nope. Maybe I'll press play. Oh, okay, it's still not gonna work because in the C# renderer, we have to pass the stride to the compute buffer, which is basically how many bytes are in one entry. And that has to be updated as well for the uint. So we just add one, the size of one unsigned integer. Okay, yeah, my stream preview is flickering, so, but I think I'm all good. Okay, so when I press play, maybe something will show? No, not yet. Well, that's I mean, okay, well, yeah, so it is drawing the geometry, but there's just nothing showing. So I'm not too worried about that. I think... Oh, it's probably because I set the, in the material, yeah, it's dividing by 0, because the atlas size never gets set. So here, while we divide by the atlas size, yeah, this is not a number. I'm surprised it doesn't show up as magenta, but maybe it, I don't know, clamps the UV or something. So, okay, so we need to add more properties here to handle the atlas stuff that we just added. Let's see, so we have atlas size and... was that it? UV margin. UV margin. Okay, so atlas UV margin. And again, this is just to make it so that the edges, like, of different sprites don't bleed into one another. And this is... okay, yeah, so it's just a float, so we can leave it as a range. And then I have the atlas size, which is a vector. I'll also just rename this here, so main atlas texture. Okay, and this should be a vector, which in Shader Lab are always vector 4, so we'll just have these two extra values that don't actually do anything. Which is fine, doesn't hurt. Okay, so now we're getting something again. Okay, so we still have this, but actually, okay, even if I change the atlas size, okay, no, well, it does mess it up because every... yeah, that's right, because now I'm saying that we should split this up into quadrants, so everything should just be the bottom left corner, but obviously everything's rotated, so... okay, let's change this to the flower atlas. Okay, so everything, yeah, so everything's choosing red because red is at position 0, but we can see... I don't know how well this will show up on stream just because of the bitrate. but you can kind of see there's like a yellow halo around it, and that's from the bleeding from the other texture. So that's why we have the margin. So when I add this, it should... Oh right, this is in pixels, so if I move this, it should start to work. Oh, but it's... okay. Yeah, I have it as a range because I forgot it's in pixels, not UV space. So this should actually just be a float. I guess we'll start it at 0. Okay, well it's not doing what it should be. Which is kind of interesting. But I guess I shouldn't be that surprised that there's a bug. Alright, okay, so the UV margin times the texel size. Maybe I set this property wrong. Let me make sure that I did the right thing. No, that should be the one that's set. I mean, we could always just have this be in UV space, but it's kind of nice to be able to specify it in pixels. Sorry, there's a bug on my pop filter. Okay, well, let me see. Let's just test what's actually in the UV to see if changing the margin actually does anything. And to do that, I'm just going to set the albedo to the UV. So float 3 input dot UV, and this will just make the color be equal to the UV. Okay. Now when I increase the margin, the UV should change to like center in on the center green, but it actually doesn't seem like it's doing anything. Oh, well, there it goes. Oh, well, you know what? Okay, these values don't make sense to me because our texture is only 2000 or 1024 pixels wide. So 1 texel should be 1 divided this. But it seems like it takes a lot more for anything to really happen. Well, I mean, it is doing something. Let's see. So, yeah. The, it's kind of, this texel size thing is kind of undocumented. So, yeah. Size of texel in question. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, well, maybe I'm just doing the math wrong. Okay, well, this is kind of interesting, but I don't think I have to worry about that. All right. Okay, well, let's change this back to be the normal color, and we'll see if messing with this actually improve or gets rid of that halo, or if there's some other bug. So Okay, well, it changes the color, but the halo is still there. I mean, I don't have wireframe on. Oh, you know what? I wonder if that's from, our alpha cutoff. Well, no, because... Okay, I think my math is wrong because we can see the, yeah, you can kind of see the yellow border expand. Because I was going to say maybe it was the alpha to coverage, but... And we're just seeing like a halo of the, I guess, alpha cutoff, because it does sometimes happen, but... Alright, so this UV margin is not working. Maybe, okay, maybe this should be subtraction. Well, no, because at section ID 00, we want this to start at the UV margin. Okay, although that does kind of fix it. Oh. I was doing the wrong thing there. Oh, but it does... Okay, well that's because I set it to 0. Okay, you can still kind of see it far away, but that's because the blending on the bitmaps makes it more apparent. I feel like this math isn't right. So when texture index is 0, the section ID is 00, so times the dimension, so it starts at 0, but then we subtract the margin. Well, maybe the margin... Okay, so maybe this texel size is negative. So should I add the margin then? This seems weird. Well, that brought the halo back. Okay, well, I wasn't expecting this to be a hang-up today, but it's okay. There's always unexpected bugs. Okay, well, this does seem to work. Although, there still is some weird stuff. I mean, 4 pixels should be enough. But anyway, okay, so we'll come back to this. Let's just put a to-do. Fix Atlas halos. Something with a UV margin is messed up. Okay. Let's actually get some color going. Okay, I do want to write a note about this, especially on higher MIP levels. Okay, so let's actually get some color going by having the compute shader set different texture indexes. I think eventually I want this to be based on noise so that it's kind of random. But because like here, the flowers kind of come in big groups. It's kind of interesting actually. There's like It goes like red, blue, yellow transition, but we can model that with noise, which will be kind of interesting. But for now, let's just test it by setting the texture ID to just be a modulo of the thread ID. Texture ID equals ID.x. Oh, okay, we already have this anchor index, so that's what I'll use. I guess we need to know the number of textures. Yeah. Okay, and we can set this in the C# or from the C# renderer. This will be public unsigned integer number textures. And then in the compute shader, we'll just set an integer. Okay, and you might wonder why I don't use set unsigned integer. That's because there's not one. But as long as your integer doesn't go into the range that's above like a normal integer and an unsigned integer, you won't have any issues. You do have to cast it here though. Okay, so now we're getting some errors. Missing compute shader. Okay, this sometimes happens when you change the compute shader and it just has to compile. But we actually do have an error there, and that's because this should be the texture index, not the texture ID. Does that fix it? Well, okay, yeah, so it works when you press play. Although now everything is blue. Let's see, there's that error. Yeah. There's yeah, the renderer. I need to think of a better way to handle working with it in editor. Sometimes you have to press play a couple times to get everything to sync up. We're still getting this annoying margin bug, but I'm not worrying about that too much right now. But wasn't expecting everything to be blue, that's for sure. Although, you know what, I think it's because, yeah, the num texture is set to 0. Okay, yeah, there we go. When I set it to 4, it works right. Blue is definitely a nice color, but I was expecting something more like this. Which already looks kind of fun, but it'll look even better when they have flower textures, that's for sure. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so it seems to all work fine. If you look real close, you can, well, they're probably all not in order, but it's kind of, since the compute shader runs in a not really random, but kind of random order, even though we set each ID like one color after the other, you can see that they're still shuffled. So you can get some kind of random ordering that way. I don't know how you do that low delay on stream. Oh, you mean between you chatting and me seeing it? I think there's an option for a low latency stream. Oh yeah, yeah, you answered me right away. Yeah, a lot of people, it seems like a lot of people don't know about it because they still have to wait a couple seconds until they see chat, but I don't know, in my stream settings I had a way to turn it on to low latency and it works well. You stream, it's about 1 to 2 minutes. Well, I'd go and look for it. I can't really go into my settings live to check it out, but it was just in my stream settings. I think you could turn off, or you could turn on low latency mode, but I don't know, maybe it's because my account's really old. I'm not sure. All right, well anyway, I'm pretty happy with this so far, but let's make it choose the color by something a little bit more fun. Let's test it out just by using, I don't know, the world position. So I don't, if it's at a negative or positive X or Z position, we'll choose a different index. Okay, so let's okay, so texture index equals 0. So 0, 0. Yeah, I'm counting. Okay, so yeah, if it's positive in the X direction, we'll add 1. And then if the world position is positive in the Y direction, we'll add 2. And that will give us an index between 0 and 1, or 0 and 4. I guess we'll ignore this num textures for now, but plus equals 1. Oh, this should be dot x. And then if position world space dot z is greater than 0, then we'll set the texture index plus equals 2. And I guess we can just leave this here so we remember about it. Okay, yes, that was pretty easy. And I can move this around, and since it's based on world position, it dynamically recolors the cards. Alright, so now I guess let's get a noise texture going. I have one already made, which is just, we're actually using it for wind. Probably want to set up something else some other time, but... So you can use textures in compute shaders, just like anything else. You just have to make sure you inherit, or not inherit, you include the core URP shader library, and it has everything you need to read textures. Alright, and so we'll just have a texture 2D. I guess let's call it flower noise. And then we'll have to get the sampler as well. I don't know. I don't think a compute shader will set the scale and offset value for you. Yeah, no, because it doesn't even show up in an inspector, of course. Am I going to try the new Unreal 5 engine? I'd love to, actually. It's just finding the time. Maybe we could do that on stream sometime. Okay, what else? I guess I'll want a noise scale. Yeah, it could just be a float 2. I guess I should call it flower noise scale. That should be good. I guess I could just make my own noise and offset, huh? So this will be flower noise st. Finally, the interface is user-friendly. Oh, really? I'll have to go check, because, yeah, I have made something in Unreal, but it's been probably a year or so since I've really worked in it, so it'll be fun to go and check out all the changes I've done. Okay, so we need to sample this. And probably, so this texture already has like 4 different noises in it for each color. And I'll probably say that it will choose the color flower based on what strongest, maybe. And then otherwise it'll be grass if everything's below a threshold. That might be kind of interesting. So I guess noise, grass, threshold. The code in the bottom left's not viewable. Oh, that is a problem. Unfortunately my overlay is kind of hard-coded, but you know what? Yeah, I need to fix that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Okay, so for now I'll just do this. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so even if I move my webcam, I have like a background behind it which I can't change, so I'll have to edit my overlay. In fact, I think I'll write that down so I don't forget. All right. Anyway, no problem, Officer Kekona. Yeah, thanks again for telling me. All right, so yeah, where was I? I want to sample the noise texture. So I guess let's just call this float for flower noise sample equals sample texture 2D flower noise sampler flower noise, and then we have to pass in a UV. So float to flower noise UV. Okay, so I have that flower noise scale and offset, which I might actually be getting this backwards in how it actually is, but I'm gonna put the scaling first and then the offset. And this will be position, world space, X, Z plus ZW. And then we'll pass the UV into there. Okay, so like I said, probably I should make a better way to do this. It's not quite as hard-coded, but I think right now I'm going to check to see which component is the highest. Yeah, it's going to be kind of messy code, but we'll deal with it. So you went texture index. So set that to 0, and this will be grass. I do need to edit that probably, because I think texture 0 right now is red, which is our the Indian paintbrush. But okay, so if flower noise, okay, I'm actually going to break this into its own function. So float, oh no, we'll pass a uint get texture index. For me, Unreal is more advanced, but Unity is simpler. I think I probably agree with that, especially because Unreal has, I mean, it's based on C++. Although, with all of Unity's changes lately, with all the multiple render pipelines and input systems and UI, it's starting to get a bit complicated. Okay, so float for noise. I'll just call this S to make things simple. Okay, so if S, X, yeah, this is gonna be, okay, so if it's greater than Y, then if, I don't really know a clean way to do this. Sx greater than s dot z. Then we'll return 1. Oh, actually, no, I have to also check that it's greater than the grass threshold. Unity's on the wrong way, like an early access game. Yeah, that kind of is a good comparison. Don't get me wrong. I love Unity, obviously, because I work in it all the time, but yeah, the last couple years they've maybe bitten off a bit more than they could chew. Would be a good way to say it. S dot. Okay, so this we can assume that x is less than s dot y already. And s dot z. S dot y is greater than the noise threshold. We'll return 1. Else. Let's see here. So the blue bonnet is what I want the first one to be, and that is actually at index 4 or 3. Yeah, this seems quite hacky. I'm sure there's a better way to do it. And then, okay, so this is at index 1, the little yellow flowers, and then otherwise we'll return grass, which is at index 2. Okay, so equals get texture index flower noise sample. It's good, but never finished. Yeah, that's true. They have been making headway on at least universal render pipeline, but it's definitely slow going. Okay, so now it's going to complain because redefinition of flower kernel or flower noise. Oh, well, this is wrong because this should be flower noise st. That's probably not what that. Well, maybe it is what the error came from. I don't know. Okay, that was. But it's still not going to work because I need to be able to set these new properties on the grass on the compute shader. So I need to get the texture here. So this will be the flower noise texture, and then we'll have a scaling float flower noise scale, and then I'll have the grass threshold. I'm having a tough time typing. Okay, so you can set a texture really easy. It's basically just like setting a buffer, because really they're not that much different. You have to pass the kernel and then the name, which is flower, noise, texture, and then settings, grass settings of, oops. Okay, and then we'll have the scale and offset, which would be set vector. So I don't make a typo, I'm gonna just copy and paste. Oh yeah, when you set the texture, it also automatically sets the sampler. But actually, yeah, I forgot that. Okay, so here, grass. Settings. We could separate this out to have separate scale for X and Y, but I'll do that if I need to. And then we just need a float for the grass threshold. All right, looking good. All right, let's see here. I think that's all I have to do. Taking a while to load. Didn't really change that much. Okay, so there is something wrong. Oh, it's probably... Okay, it's just the same bugs. I need to press play, but it will complain that there's no texture, so let's go ahead and set that. And the scale, set it to 1, and the threshold, let's do 5. Oh yeah, I just realized I did the threshold wrong, but kernel at index 0 is invalid. Okay, so there's a bug in the actual compute shader. Cannot map expression. Let's see. Okay. Can't see the full error. I bet that I did a typo somewhere. Let's see. So flower noise. It looks okay, actually. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's no derivative functions, obviously, in a compute shader, so you have to use sample texture 2D LOD to get rid of the map logic. Alright, that's all I had to do there. You know, there's no errors in the compute shader, so when I press play, the renderer should fix itself. Maybe not. Compute shader. Property flower noise is not set. Okay, so I did the name wrong. That's why I usually copy and paste stuff, but I didn't that time. Oh yeah, so it's okay. I added a texture there when it didn't need to be. Oh, well. At first it seems like it's just randomly choosing things, but that might be because the noise texture is so big. Or the scale is okay, yeah, so when I increase the scale, but I actually want it to be smaller, right? So that the... Okay, so you can kind of see the clumps, but let's set it really small. That's too small. Okay, that's kind of more what I want, but I think I actually did the logic wrong when I was thinking about it while it was loading, because if there's nothing... Let's see. So right now, oh, I guess it does work. I was gonna say, yeah, if nothing is, yeah, nothing's greater than noise threshold, it does just return a 2. Although I kind of did this backwards because I wanted... Okay, this should be an OR, actually. Yeah, because if grass is greater than... Or if X is greater than anything, then I wanted it to go first. Okay. But I mean, that's a minor thing. Yeah, so now there's more blue bonnets. Kind of interesting that it doesn't choose many Indian paintbrushes. I don't really know why. because they should happen if y is less than x but greater than z. I guess that's kind of a constraining thing. And we can move this around to kind of see how the noise changes as you move through the world. I mean, it's kind of cool, but it doesn't really look like how a flower field would look, I don't think. The yeah, the shapes are too regular, or like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess the edges are too crisp for one, and then also it's kind of weird seeing like legs of different colors of flowers where they don't like actually blend together that well. So I wonder what would be the best way to fix that. Okay, first of all, let's make this a little bigger so I can see more. Because what I kind of like to happen is for there to be different, like, you know, like patches of flower colors instead of it being like a majority blue and then just like small little areas of different flowers. And then I also want to feather the edges a little bit. We can apply another noise texture to do that, I think. Yeah, I'm trying to think what the best way to like layer 3 layers of noise on top of each other. Maybe instead of doing this thing where I check to see which one's greater than the other, I just have like a bunch of different thresholds, and then whatever the first one is that's greater than the threshold is what shows up. Okay, let's try that. So instead of just having a threshold for grass, there'll actually be thresholds for everything. I guess I should make that a plural. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this code. I knew it was too what's the word? Not clean. So now what I can do, I think, is float for, I don't know what to call this. I'll just do it in. So it'll basically be the sample minus the thresholds. Is that what I called it? I guess I can get rid of a lot of this commented out stuff because I moved it to the graphic shader, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Can always get it back later. I have it saved elsewhere. And then so the first one that's greater than 0, I guess, is what will display. Is this really much different than the previous pattern? I guess we'll just have to try it out and see. So if n.x is greater than 0, then we'll return. Okay, what was the bluebonnet color? Okay, that's 3. Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit cleaner here and just do it for flower IDs. And now we can just pass flower ID X here. Okay, so I can copy this for all the others. Oops, except I forgot the else's. Okay, I don't like that formatting. So this will return flower IDs.w. So again, now we're just subtracting a threshold from each flower sample or a noise sample, and we're just picking the first one that's above the threshold to show. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's still gonna make weird like lakes of other flowers inside the sea of bluebonnet, or I guess islands inside the sea of bluebonnets. But I guess yeah, it's worth a try. Okay, so now I need some more variables here. So this will be the flower thresholds, and then flower IDs. Okay, so now all of these will be vectors. Flower thresholds. Although yeah, I just can pass the setting. Settings. Flower thresholds, and now the... Okay, so I want to pass integers. They have... Yeah, for some reason they do this differently. You call set ints, and I think you can just pass... Yeah, you can pass... it's gonna be kind of messy, but... Grass settings... Flower IDs... .x, and now we have to pass... Y, Z, W... I know, just a second. Okay, there we go. But what's it complaining about? Oh, right, it doesn't handle unsigned integers very well. Okay, so that should do the trick. Okay, so there's an error somewhere. I'll fix that in a second. Okay, so I can... Let's just set everything to 0.5 for now. And then we can see what each value does. Okay, so bluebonnets are 3. Paintbrushes are 0. Yellow ones 1, and then grass is 2. All right. Okay, now there's no bugs in the compute shader, so it should just run. Okay, so that's interesting. It's all Indian paintbrushes. Which is why. Okay, so I've obviously made a mistake somewhere because no matter what I do, it never changes. Yeah, I guess, yeah, the paintbrushes are technically ID 0, so they're kind of like the default. Okay, I would guess that this isn't being set correctly because if they all contain 0, then it just returns Indian paintbrushes. So maybe I named it wrong. Alright, Cybernus, thanks for hanging out. Have a good night. Oh yeah, I was looking at the here. Oh, yeah, I didn't change the name here, so that should fix it. Okay, so that does look a lot better, actually. I'm kind of surprised. There's still more bluebonnets than anything else, but I kind of want that because there's a lot of, well, actually, this is mostly Indian paintbrushes, but I remember mostly bluebonnets, but I guess we can edit that as we want, because I could bring this down. Oh. Oh, right, so when I bring it down, it actually makes them more... Yeah, it makes more of them because you subtract a smaller number from the sample. So that makes sense. So there is still kind of the weird thing where these other ones only appear basically where the bluebonnets don't appear. But I don't really know a better way to fix that. So I think I'm happy with this. Yeah, and this basically this W value doesn't do anything because no matter what happens, grass is always the last one. Okay, well this is actually, I think I'm pretty happy with this for now. Let me think. Okay, it's really, yeah, it's kind of interesting where if you increase the scale, it goes back to just looking random. But I guess that makes sense. Okay, so let's set it to something, let's see what that looks like. Okay, well, that's a little bit too small. So again, yeah, see, it only like changes the area that is not taken up by the higher priority flowers, but I mean, I guess you can technically change that by bringing down the bluebonnets, although that just makes Indian paintbrushes more prevalent. Although I guess that's just kind of a coincidence in this case. Anyway, I think we'll go with this for now, but I still don't like how it's such a clean edge. So I think I'm going to use the alpha value of this noise texture to kind of break this up a little bit. And I think I can do that. Well, first of all, I'm going to need to sample it a second time because it needs to be more, like, have a different scale than this noise. Otherwise, it won't really do anything. So let's add that. And I think basically what I can do is just subtract the alpha noise value from the flower samples, and that will get everything done. Okay, so let's see. I guess let's just call this blending noise scale. Did I do all this tonight? Well, I did some Wednesday night, mostly kind of setting everything up, but tonight I've done most of the, like, everything that has to do with the color. Okay, so I have that, and I think I can just multiply the noise UV. Well, no, I probably should just derive it from position. So I guess I'll make this an entire scale and offset vector. Oops, that's not correct. Well, thanks, 9 lives. Okay, so float to blending noise UV. We could just use this same formula. And then we'll need a sample. I'm going to just sample the same noise and just take the alpha value from it. So blend noise sample, and then I think I can just subtract this from the flower sample, and well, we'll see how it works. I don't know. It might not do what I want, but okay, so I need to set this value in the compute shader before I do anything else. Can you do this in Shadergraph, or do you prefer HLSL? I actually really do like Shadergraph, but unfortunately you can't do this in the Shadergraph because it doesn't have support for our compute shader. You could do all this stuff with noise in the Shadergraph, but it wouldn't, you know, decide the colors of these flower cards that I'm trying to set up. So blend noise scale. Okay, and I need to copy this. Okay, so everything should be set up. It's gonna complain about something. I think it's just the same thing it always does when I update it. Oh, except I actually did have an error here. Blending noise dot y. What is wrong? Oh, well. I don't know what this error is, but this I used the wrong UV. Invalid subscript XY. Oh, okay, I must have left this as a float. Yeah, it needs to be a float 4. Okay, so that fixed that. We'll set the blend noise. I'll just set it to 1 for now, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it turned everything into grass. I don't know. Kind of interesting that it seems like it only chooses red, but so obviously this isn't what I need. Oh, well, yeah, because yeah, if I subtract it from everything, all it's gonna do is make it so that grass is more likely, which is what we just saw. So how do I make it? Maybe, okay, maybe what I need to do is just sample the noise and do it kind of like noise octaves, and then I just add this on top of the sample. So we add them together. We'll try this anyway. Okay, so there's too many bluebonnets, but it did kind of do it. It's interesting that it seems to really want to choose bluebonnets, but I have to set the threshold really high. But I guess that makes sense because now the maximum is 1.5 instead of 1. So I guess it's not really too high. But yeah, see, these are more interesting shapes. So I think I do like this better. That doesn't look super natural for flowers where they're kind of bordered. Although maybe not, because I mean that's kind of what's happening here. Yellow is being surrounded by blue. It's interesting seeing the process because you thought by my video most established tech artists know how to do it. Crazy to see that you go through the same trial and error as I do. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of research to my videos that you don't see, so don't feel like we're all infallible. That's definitely not the case. One color, so maybe I shouldn't worry about it too much. Okay. Set this back. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. I guess it's good to have some blending. Or some intermixing, I should say. I can't I can't see the red arrow. There we go. Okay. Alright, so what else do I want to do? Well, I mean, obviously we need to make the textures, but like I said earlier, I think I need to do a little bit more research before I try to fumble through Substance Designer. So maybe we'll pivot to another project and finish this tomorrow. I do have some other ideas to start. I mean, I guess I could put this onto some terrain. Maybe that'd be a good idea. We can see a bigger field of this. Okay, yeah, we'll try that. So let's make so I don't actually have like terrain set up. Like it won't actually, I can't meld this to terrain super well. So let's just kind of fake it and have like a height map, and the height map will perturb the base points of each of these cards. And then we could do the same with the mesh underneath as well. I think that'll be an easy way. I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to do it for a real game because it's not the most efficient, but this is mostly just for fun, so. Alright, so let's make a terrain noise. Or I guess it won't really be noise, it'll just be a texture. I guess a terrain height map. Terrain height map. And then the sampler. And then I'll have a scale and offset for this as well. Float. And then we'll have a float for the terrain, I guess, height. And okay, so what I need to do is to sample this, and then we'll add the height to the world position. It's interesting. This will perturb the normal. We could calculate better normals, but don't think I'll worry about that too much. Well, actually, okay, we probably should worry about that, actually. All I have to do, all I have to do is to sample the terrain at each of these triangles. And then that will give us a normal from that, or each of these triangle points. Okay, so let's make another function. So float 3, get terrain, or let's get position on terrain. Position on terrain, and we'll pass in a float 3 position. And that's all I need, really. Okay, and we'll use basically the same code, except with the terrain height map. Oh, right. And this should have the scale and transform offset. Okay, so we can just call that UV and sample. And really we only will care about the red coordinate out of this, our red component, because that will be our height. Terrain height map, sampler, and then UV. Okay, and then we'll just return the height times the terrain height multiplier. Oh, except I need... Okay, so actually, yeah, we return float 3, position... Oh no, it's 0, height times terrain height, and then 0, and then we just add the old position to it. And then here, so this is multiplying to world space, so we can just get position on terrain for each of these calls. And then this will give us the position on this butt mapped terrain for each of these vertices, and then this function will take care of getting us our normal and tangent vectors, just like we have been doing. Yeah, now it's gonna complain because it doesn't have all those new variables that we need to set. Okay, so we have the terrain height map, and also a float, terrain, scale, and also the height, right? And then I can just set all of that here. Terrain, height, map. And then I need to set, again, another scale and transform. Okay, let's do it down here. Okay. I think I didn't name it correctly. No, that's right. I didn't trust in myself. Okay, so terrain, scale. And now we need to set the height variable. All right. Okay, so this... Yeah, I'm kind of surprised how simple this is turning out to be. Terrain height map. Okay, I think I did something similar last time. Oh no. Implicit truncation of vector. Oh, right. Oh, well this was actually a bug. Because it's only taking the first component out of this when it was supposed to take all of them. So I wonder if that will change the way our grass colors look, but we can deal with that later. Yeah, that's not what I want. I want this, so I think I'll just use the same noise texture we've been using. Oh, that actually fixes it immediately. And set the terrain scale to something besides 0. It probably should be something pretty big, or pretty small, and then I'll set the height. Okay, so immediately things are starting to happen. Oh, that's pretty cool, actually. It doesn't really look like terrain. It's super regular, actually. And yeah, the normals are really messed up over here. What is going on, actually? I guess they're just opposite the direction of the light, but is this going to be optimized? Sorry for asking too many questions. Oh no, I don't mind at all. 9 lives. Ask as many questions as you'd like. I'll probably try to optimize it a little bit, but this flower stuff is kind of just for fun, so I'm not focusing on making it super efficient. But if I ever make a video about it, I probably I'll go through the steps of making sure it runs on most hardware. But I would like, yeah, I want to make a big field, so that's going to kind of be necessary. Our optimization is going to kind of be necessary for me to keep the animation looking good. So, okay. Yeah, I don't really like, yeah, because this shadow won't look natural when we get grass textures on there, because grass is kind of translucent and it shouldn't be affected by shadows that much. But yeah, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I mean, we don't have actual textures to look at yet. Alright, so this scale should probably be a lot smaller. But let's make this a little bigger. So now we can move this around and you can see it's a slight incline. That looks pretty good, actually. Obviously now it's decoupled from this terrain mesh, so I need to make a shader that will fix that. And we can actually do that in the shader graph. So let's go ahead and do it. Oh, okay. So this will be, last year this will be tied with whatever graphics we do on the ground, but that's fine. I'll just do a lit shader graph. This will be terrain. And this isn't like a real terrain shader for the Unity terrain system. That's a lot more complicated than I'm going to get into for this. We're just going to do it. This is basically just a bump map. Okay, I'm just going to do a color because I think that's all we have now. So, color, and we'll smoothness. Slider. Set it to half to start with. Alright, and then our bump map. I'll call it a height map since that's what I did in the compute shader. And then the height and a scale. Height map. I guess I'll just call this a multiplier, because height map height doesn't sound very good to me. Okay, so sample. Okay, and this will be in the vertex stage. So again, we have to use sample texture 2D LOD. Otherwise, the shader graph won't even let me plug it in there. Okay, we don't want to use the UVs. We want to use world position. And we need to get the X and Z components, which we have to kind of... Unfortunately, there's not a swizzle node, which would be kind of nice. Vector 2... Oops, that was the wrong one. Okay, so we get the X and Z components out of there. And then multiply that by the multiplier. Oh wait, no, this goes afterwards. We multiply this by the scale, because we're basically making the height map UV. Okay, and then the multiplier goes here. And yeah, we're basically just remaking the algorithm that we did for the height map and the compute shader. Okay, and so now we need to add this back to the world position. And to do that, we need to turn this into a vector 3. And in Unity, Y is up, so we set that, feed that into the Y, and then do this. And then that goes into the position. Clean this up a little bit. Okay, so that looks good, I think. Okay, this doesn't fix the normal vector. So the normal vector is going to be messed up on the terrain, but I don't even know if I really care, because I don't know if it's going to be noticeable, but we could fix it relatively easily, so I don't know, we might as well try. We can use the derivative of this height vector. Oh, except the derivatives aren't available during the vertex stage. Okay, so it actually, what we'd have to do is sample this texture multiple times and then take the cross product of that. So, I mean, it's possible, but it's kind of a lot of work. So let me just write a to-do list note and we can try to add that later maybe. Or maybe we'll do it tonight if I have extra time. Okay, fix normal on or in the terrain shader. Okay, but anyway, let's see how this looks. Material, so I have this ground, and I'll switch to my new terrain shader. Oh, why did it suddenly grow? Oh, it must be the... Okay, that's kind of weird. The height... The terrain... Or the height map is like... making it grow outwards? Let me see here. Oh, this might be an object space and not world space. Can I change that, I wonder? Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it. So I'll need to transform this back into object space, which is not a big deal, but it's kind of seems like it's not like it just seems kind of like wasted, but whatever. If I was writing this in HLSL, I wouldn't have to do this, but so world to object space. Yeah, That's a position. Okay, so that is better. I think what was happening is, oh yes, this is already scaled. So it was in world space. So I was setting, and I was expecting it in object space. So it was it was applying the scale twice because, yeah, it was scaling to world space once when I called this or evaluated this node, and then I was feeding it into what was supposed to be an object space position. So it was transforming that into world space again in this internal code. So it was scaling it twice, but whew. Well, I've already been streaming for 2 hours. It honestly hasn't seemed like it. Okay, so honestly, I mean, obviously there's no height here, but I think I just need to set it. Let's see. I'll just use the same noise again. And what did I have here? So I want to set the same scale and height so that they'll match. So 0.01 and then 3. Okay. See, that was actually pretty painless. I mean, yeah, the terrain doesn't look very good right now. Let's you can give it, I don't know, some brown or deep green. And also, it probably will look better if it's not smooth. I don't know if that looks much better, but yeah, we'll have to do something more with this for sure. Maybe that'll be what we'll do. At least add, I should at least have an albedo color, huh? Or yeah, an albedo texture, I mean. I don't think I need to do anything fancy like a normal map because, well, one, the normals like we haven't been fixed here, but also they're going to be covered in flowers, so it's really not going to be very noticeable. But I think having a main texture at least will be nice. So it'll be easy to set up anyway. So we can call the normal sample texture 2D here because we're calling it in an actual fragment function, and we'll just pass in. Okay, well actually, we'll have to do the world position again. Okay, and this is kind of confusing. Shader graph doesn't really explain it well, but since this is the vertex stage, the value here is different than calling it here because you're calling it here before it's been changed by the shader, but then when it moves to the fragment stage, this position is updated to basically have the value that you pass in here. So that's not communicated at all, really. And I don't think it's really intuitive, but that's how it works. I really wish they should mark like whether a node is in fragment or fragment or vertex stage. I really think that would make a lot of things a lot clearer, but it's not. Anyway, I need to. Yeah, I kind of have to do the same thing that we did here, where I multiply with a scale. So I'm just going to copy and paste these nodes. And yeah, we don't want to use the same scale probably, so main text scale. And I can just feed this into the base color. Alright, and quick and simple texture. Okay, so now this is going to be white. Let's just set, I don't know, some random texture in there. I don't have anything good, but... Okay. It's really hard to see, actually. Let's turn that off just so I can see what's going on. And if we change the scale, yeah, you can start seeing checkerboards. Oh, what? I wasn't expecting that. It doesn't... What's going on there? Maybe, okay. Oh, I know why. It's because this texture doesn't have tiling mode turned on, but they're still weird. Okay, that's a weird effect. I don't know what's causing that. Okay, so we can't use this. Okay, so we'll just use the noise texture again since it has tiling mode. Okay, and this works how you'd expect. But yeah, let's just switch to a white texture. Although that's not going to work because I don't have a tint property. I guess that could be fixed pretty easily. Probably won't need this in the final version, but just for ease, we could just multiply the texture color with this tint, and that way I don't have to make a texture. I mean, yeah, I don't have to make a texture right now just to test this out. Okay, and we can set this back to, I don't know, some brown. Okay, so that is pretty cool. Okay, I'm trying to think. Do I like the distribution of these flowers, or do I want it to be... Well, it's gonna kind of be hard to tell if they're, you know, compact enough until I have actual textures, so I guess I shouldn't worry about that yet. And we can extend this little square of grass by creating duplicates. And yeah, that works fine. And since everything basically is world position based, it just all like locks into place. No seams or anything. Okay, well, that's pretty cool. What else? Well, I guess we can try to fix the UV bug, but I don't really... I'm kind of confused about what's causing it. I think it probably is my fault because I'm like visualizing the way that the UV scales incorrectly. Maybe I could fix that by having a gradient or something. I guess we should probably try to fix it because it's gonna be a problem when we do the textures next. And then if we still have any time, I can start on another project. But everything else is looking pretty good so far. I'm happy with the terrain bump map and the flower distribution. The flower still is a little bit noisy here, but I don't want to mess with it too much in case it looks good when we have real textures. So All right. Okay, so let's see. You know what? Also, this binge stuff is not even used right now. Maybe that's something we should try to fix. Because right now, all the grass is just a single card. But I don't know, it might not even... When I get the textures going, I might not need anything else. So... And that could also be fixed if I wanted to with like tessellation, which might actually be kind of interesting to get into. I always forget that. I think it has 2 S's and 1 L. Maybe not. Okay, 2 of both. So maybe we'll do tessellation because it's kind of like automatic LOD. It'll add more vertices, which will let the grass bend naturally. So really, this bend matrix stuff is not really needed right now, but I'll just leave it. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay, so what was I doing? Oh, right, I need to try to figure out why this UV stuff isn't working. Okay, so let's make... did I not... Yeah, let's just save this. Okay, it's not the right thing. Flower quadrants. And now let's make them all a gradient so we can kind of see where the or how the UVs are progressing. Well, I'll just do the red one and everything else can just kind of stay how it is. This... Yeah, I didn't. I was trying to... It's also modulating the alpha. Oh, which is... Probably should test that as well too, because we do have... Well, if the colors work in the alpha, it will work, so... Okay, let's change this to flower quadrant. Test UVs. And we'll want to export... I'm just going to move these in here so I don't lose them. Alright, I want unity. Okay, and we'll change this to use the test. Okay, so you can see here. It's not letting me zoom in to the right. Okay, so this is interesting. It's red at this corner, but then green and yellow. But is it not? I thought I said it. Oh, it's not on clamp anymore. So let's fix that. Yeah, because this should be like it's wrapping around, but I want the wrap mode to be set to clamp. So if I do that, that should help. Okay, but then in the upper right corner. Okay, so it seems like quadrant 1 actually works correctly because I'm not seeing any bleeding. Do I even have a margin? I do. Okay. I was thinking that maybe I should make these all be gradients so I can see. So what I'm mostly confused about is why subtracting this works, but I think it might have something to do with the texel size. So what if I just get rid of the texel size and we just do it as an actual UV and see if that works how I expect? Because, right, because when, yeah, the section ID is 0, then you should add the margin, which offsets it up and to the right, and then you add in the actual card UV multiplied by oh, this should be margin times 2 actually. I wonder if that was the problem the whole time. Yeah, because there's a margin on the left and the right side. Ooh. Well, okay, well it's yeah, I need to change this to be like, I don't know, 0.01. Actually, I don't really see. Did that fix it? Yeah, I don't see any more of those lines. So, was this... I guess maybe that was the whole thing? Okay, that's kind of embarrassing. But let's see if adding back in the texel size breaks it again. So, we make the margin be 4. Oh no, that was it. Okay. Well, I guess I'm glad I found the bug, but I am kind of embarrassed. But everybody makes silly mistakes, so... At least it's fixed. Right? Yeah, I don't see any other halos. It looks like it's even fixed when you zoom out really far. Well, when you zoom out, you can kind of see it. Let's see. It's hard to look at different UVs or different bitmaps. But if I move the camera really far away and then zoom in, you can kind of see some yellowing, although that might be the panels behind that. I don't know. But it's not super noticeable. And I guess if it is an issue, you can just... Because what's going to happen is as you increase... Or as MIP level increases, it's going to keep on blurring the edges. So some parts from the other atlas will start to bleed in. You can always just make the edges wider. Or the margin wider. But anyway, it's not... I mean, as long as you can't really notice it, it doesn't really matter. But cool, it's fixed. Oh, interesting. So when I put it back like this, you start to see it on the yellow more. Maybe I spoke too soon. Although I think it's just that map thing. It's probably because red is such a strong color and then yellow is kind of not. So you can kind of... I don't know if you guys can see it, but I can see a little bit of the red bleeding in on the edge of the yellow. So if I increase the margin to 8 pixels, that seems to help a lot. I don't really know if there's a way to fix that, because it has to do with the way that UVs or the way that bitmaps are generated. You could... I guess you could fix it by turning off, like, interpolation. Or, I don't know, that would help at least. You could also fix it by turning off bitmaps, but that's not usually a good idea. So if I change this to point mode... made some weird stuff happen. What is going on there? I don't know, I thought I saw like a flicker or something. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just the... Yeah, I think it was actually just the wind. What's with that weird brown? Okay, there is actually something changing. Like, I'm gonna turn off wind. Just so I can see what it looks like without the wind changing it. I don't know if that's visible to anybody else, but it seemed like for some reason a lot of them turned brown. Maybe it's just anisotropic filtering, because it seems like it only happens to ones that are kind of like... It seems to only happen when they're not like just barely visible on screen. So I mean, that's a kind of weird effect. I don't really know why that happens when I put it onto point mode, but it probably has something to do with anisotropic filtering, I would guess. Okay. But anyway, there's still a little bit of bleeding, but it's not that bad. I think I could also, like I said, you can fix it by turning off bitmaps, but that's going to look really bad when I add real textures. Although you can see they kind of all, well, actually you guys probably can't see, but it kind of all blends in to be one color when you zoom out with bitmaps. I'll have to look and see if there's a way you can fix it. I don't think... I mean, surely people have done something because they use this technique for sprite atlases. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a better way to handle it. I guess sprites usually are pixel art and they usually have point filtering, so maybe that's how it's fixed. Anyway, can you turn ISO to 0 on bilinear? I think you can. Let me see. Oh yeah, so yeah, that's definitely what's doing it, because when I turned an ISO to 0, it's starting to turn everything darker. That's just a kind of funny effect. I wonder, yeah, I don't really know why that happens too much, but interesting. Anyway, I don't have to worry about it too much. Okay, so I still have technically 30 minutes. Let's see, what else do we have? So we fixed Atlas Halo, thankfully. The normal and the terrain shader, and tessellation. Tessellation is going to take a little bit of work, so I don't think I want to start it now. Normal and the terrain shader. I mean, I guess we could fix it. I just don't think it's going to really be needed for the terrain because it's going to be covered with flowers. So I kind of don't want to mess with it. So... trying to think what else do I need to do. I mean, the big thing is I need to do the textures, but like we said, or like I said, that has to wait. Huh. So, okay, I can kind of see, going back to this margin stuff, when again, I'm trying to point at this square here, but it's very, at a skewed angle. I think it's anisotropic filtering, but when you move over, so that's like basically perpendicular to the screen, it starts to turn green, so... And I bet if I turn this to 0, it would be more noticeable. And actually, I think I do need to turn the margin up because I'm seeing some green halos on the red right here. I feel like there's got to be a better way to do this, but I mean, when you turn it up, it does go away. I don't know, I guess maybe there's a reason people don't use atlases too much in 3D, but I think it's will be very useful for this shader so that you won't have to switch materials for each different flower. Oh, you know what? Probably one thing that would help is if I just made the texture bigger, because then it would have... Actually, I don't know if that would... When you remove the texel size, it seemed to not be there. That's right, Entity Live. And I think it's because... Let me think. How to say this? So the texel size is like 1/1000th, so this is really small. And when I think I had it at like 0.01, so the margin was a lot bigger when I didn't have it on texel size. I don't know if it actually... Like, I don't think texel size is the actual issue, but... like here I'll set 32 pixel margin. Yeah, you don't really see it here, so I guess you just need a really big margin. Which I guess makes sense. I'm kind of used to pixel art with doing atlases, so that's why I was starting off really small, but obviously it doesn't work when you're doing, as we've seen here, when you're dealing with bitmaps. You've got to have pretty big margins, because you've got to think of the smallest bitmap that will be on the screen, so... Because probably, yeah, because every time you go up in a bitmap level, the margin will half, so you've got to keep that margin for, basically as many bitmap levels as you'll use. But okay, anyway, that's enough about that. Let's move on to something else. Okay, so like I said, I don't want to do tessellation or the normal, so I guess my options are I guess a different project. So don't really know how much I can get started with that in 30 minutes either, so I think I might just call the stream. Unless anybody has any questions about, yeah, I guess about a tutorial or what I've been working on, maybe I can do something with that. But I think otherwise, yeah, since it is getting pretty late and I don't think I have time really to start something else, I guess I'll just call it. But I'm pretty happy with the results so far. I think it already is starting to look kind of pretty, even though they're just rectangles. Do I have a stream schedule? Yeah, I'll stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 Eastern for... I'm usually planning to go until midnight, but... again, if we're in a situation like this where I don't really have anything else to do, then, you know, what can I do? Is there anything else I can clean up here? I guess I could just remove this, but... I hope to see you then, NTT. Thanks for staying here and chatting. I do appreciate it. But, okay. Yeah, I guess I'll just call it tonight then. Thanks everybody for coming by and chatting. I do really appreciate it, like I said. If I'll be live again Monday at 9 Eastern time, and by then I'll have figured out the best way to handle these textures I might even just do them off stream because I think I'm going to have to follow a tutorial, and but I'll show you how I've done it for sure. And then we'll finish off this project, I hope so, by just making a big field of flowers, and maybe, I don't know, what else is in here. They have, I don't know if I'll work into trees, because that's going to be kind of a lot, but alright, thanks N2T, I'll see you then. But anyway, yeah, we'll finish this off. And I have another flower type project, which I think will also be pretty cool. It's been suggested by different viewers before. But anyway, I'm rambling, so I'll put some links in chat if you'd like to check out my YouTube channel, where I upload weekly game development tutorials, and my other social media. But anyway, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday. All right, bye-bye.